Hi, good morning or afternoon, depending on when you're listening. My name's Sue Pankovic, and here I am with Jenny Kennard and Jacqueline Hollows, who I'm really pleased to be having a conversation with this morning as part of our series of Tapas to do with the Viva event, which is taking place again this November. If you've been watching some of the others, you'll know there's a pretty simple format, and that we just want to have a gentle conversation, but to focus in on one or two questions that I'm going to ask. Okay, so I'm going to jump on Jacqueline first with a question, just to say really something about, since you've come across your understanding of the principles, is there something that comes to mind that you might say, well, that was a fairly major or significant difference it's made to your life in a particular area?
Yes. The biggest thing for me actually is quite recent. Has been really seeing that everything is created from the inside out. There's times when I've had that as a thing, or understood it in a more sort of, oh yeah, it happens from the inside out, but not had the feeling of it. And just recently I had an experience where I saw that all my experience, including the really amazing experience or the amazing insights that I've had, come from within me. And that's been quite major, because it helped me see that therefore I can own when things go well and I've impacted other people, because I know that that's coming from me too, rather than just always owning when things don't go so well and I think, oh, I messed up there, if that makes sense. Like, it was totally, it's all coming from me. My experience of everything is coming from me. And when I'm super inspired and full of love and full of compassion and full of these amazing things, that's coming from me too. And I hadn't really realised that before. I thought that was just like a really cool thing that the universe did to me. But like all the crappy stuff was stuff that I created. So that's been pretty cool to recognise that.
Wow. That's lovely to hear, isn't it? How about you, Jen?
Well, it's been an interesting few months, and I think the thing that's really been kind of fresh for me with the principles is I saw how I came across them over 11 years ago now, and I had this huge change. I dropped so much of my identity, so the one of eating disorders and shyness and depression, so all of this stuff fell away. And then what I hadn't seen is that I'd then created this new identity, and I'd really thought that, I'd dropped my identity, and I hadn't seen that I'd just created a new one and lived out of it as if it was true. And it's been so interesting to see how we get so wedded to our ideas about ourselves, what we think, and we don't see it as thought. So I guess the insight's been around seeing that it's all thought. This idea of who I am or who I think other people are is thought created. And that at any moment we have the opportunity to see again fresh. So it feels like I've stopped being such a fixed being in time and space and more moment to moment. And, I've shown up extrovert, I've shown up very shy again. I have no idea whether I'm a vegetarian or not a vegetarian, because I seem to change my mind very regularly. And it feels that there's a lot of movement and change in terms of who I think I am. And seeing that there was so much before that I held on to as needing to define me. And I felt secure because I knew who I was. And I feel like now it's just been completely open to the moment of what shows up then, and not really attaching to any of it. And it feels like I've become much more of a observer or it's like you're along for the ride and you see what shows up. And I know that before I'd created an identity around being a 3 Principles facilitator, about being a wife, about having this in place, and to have so many external things fall away and not be the same as they've always been. But realise, I guess as Jacqueline was saying, that it all comes from within. So my idea and my feeling of security doesn't come from anything external. It comes from something deep within me. And I think it's been a really humbling time to see the power of thought in the moment creating intense feeling and then it changing. And I think, part of that has been around me having some funny idea that understanding these principles would mean you're kind of immune to something or you're immune to life. But seeing that we're all at the mercy of these principles, bringing to life experience as if it's true and real. And just because we understand these principles doesn't mean that that's not true. So again, it was like a humbling experience of, just because I think I know something here, I really only have a glimpse of the unknown or the truth that really is being revealed to us through these principles.
Well, that's kind of really meshed together what you both said. I was just thinking, for me too, that happens at various times, is like trying to get rid of me. So I create this person that's going to get rid of me, and then realizing, oh, that's not even worthy of, have a cup of tea instead. That'd be much more fun. So the inside out piece, really, that sounds very much, the accord between both of what you're both saying. So you kind of, in a way, you've jumped to the third question, which is, really going to flummox me. That's what's fresh for you, but I don't know what to do. So let's go to the second question, which is, and it may be that it's a development of the same answer. It really doesn't matter. But what can you say? Something that significantly helped you? I mean, that's what you've been talking about, so fundamental that you could say, well, that's the answer. But can you see how it might have shown up? Say something about how it's shown up with a particular aspect of life. Sort of focus in a little on that. Jacqueline.
I really love what Jen just said. And it did dovetail into my comment. And where that has been most helpful for me, well, not most helpful, a particular area that has been helpful is in business. So I didn't I didn't really understand why people were being impacted when I ran a group or I had a conversation with them, but I knew they were, and I had a sort of childlike trust in the system, if you like. So I run groups for prisoners in prison, and they would be really seeing thought, or really seeing, somebody called it, I'm just going to check it, have a mood checker every morning and see where my mood is, and really seeing things for themselves and having significant transformations that literally change their lives and the people around them. And I didn't really know why that was working so well, but I didn't mind that I didn't know. I just kept doing it because it was working. Seeing that it's all coming through me and it's all being created through me made me realise that it's me that's doing that. So the I that isn't all the personality and isn't all my thinking about whether I'm good enough or not, whether I'm saying the right thing or not, whether I need a structure or not. Beyond all of that, this creative being that is me underneath all of that is connecting with that creative being that's sitting in front of me, beyond their personality and their addictions and their thoughts about their offending behaviour. And those two connections are what's making the transformation happen. And first of all, that was totally empowering, because that meant that I am no longer concerned about whether I get the words right, whether somebody else sounds better than me, and frees me to be really experimental and free in the world. And second of all, it means that I sort of don't feel that I have the responsibility for what happens. I feel that that's just going to happen, and so therefore I just need to let that happen. I can't do something to make that happen. I just need to show up. And the impact of that has been that means I can work with anyone. So I had this made up belief about myself that I could just work with people who had substance misuse issues or mental health issues, and that's where I needed to focus. Seeing what I saw means that I just work with anybody. I just talk to anybody, because that's just a made up thing that happened to me, and I hadn't realised, because I thought that came from love, but it actually came from fear or insecurity, because it became that's what I do over here, rather than actually it doesn't make any difference. People are people, or as one of my men put it, people is people, innit? So it doesn't matter who I work with, it doesn't make any difference. The principle lies within everybody, and when we tap into that place, everybody sees what they see. So that's major for my business, because that means that I can go wherever I want to go without the restriction. And I have a personal preference in this moment to work with that population. That may change.
Not yet, because it's just amazing what you're doing. So
hopefully not yet.
Stick it a while longer. Jen?
I think probably, again, similar to Jacqueline, in that really seeing that people are just people. And I had the opportunity to go to South Africa recently and work with some ladies from a charity out there called Africa Tikkun. So they work with young people, taking them, their motto is from cradle to career. And it's funny, you kind of go in with these ideas of what we've got to offer with the principles. And it was really only on the second day that I just really sat down and I just thought, these women are already these principles in action. They're already resilient, incredible, inspiring women. And a lot of them are living in the townships. A lot of them are living in quite a lot of poverty. They were telling us stories of, children murdered through gun crime and gangs. One of the ladies saying her daughter's now into prostitution and she's looking after the children. So they seemed like they had quite heavy stories, but that sat in front of you were really kind of joyful, resilient people. So it's not that they're saying that the circumstances sometimes don't get them down, but you really got to see that these principles that point to our resilience and our nature are already present, whether you've ever heard of the principles or not. So almost like it takes a very little, really, of pointing to people. Oh, look what you've already got. Look what's already within you. And I realise how again and again, as human beings, we can't help it, but we kind of make this understanding something. We make these principles a something to talk about. But kind of what really stood out for me on that second day was that it's just life. It's alivening all of it. And it doesn't matter if someone's heard of the principles, it's still in action within them. So you're going to have people that have overcome all kinds of adversity. And it's just inspiring to see that our job is very little, really. That when you do show up with someone, and I know that was one of the very first things that impacted me, was Dr. Roger Mills talking to me like I was a whole human being. And it felt like I'd been spoken to as if I was broken for a long time. So that just, beyond the words I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember the 3 principles. But a human being talking to me like I was whole. He knew I was whole. It wasn't like an idea to him. It was what he saw. And that woke it up in me. So it does feel like it ties in with what Jacqueline was saying, that it is beyond the words, that the words are an incredible vehicle for this. But sometimes you have a room full of people and some people are like, they've heard it, and other people hear nothing and think it's rubbish. Well, where is their understanding coming from? It's coming from within them, because it's inbuilt. This is just what's already alive within us.
Wow. I think when you say our job is very little, or our work is very little, it's understanding the truth in that then I think connects to the freedom that you were talking about. So we're not out to fix, we're not out to apply techniques that we've got to perfect ourselves. We're just showing up and being with people. And we were talking earlier, Jacqueline, and you used the metaphor of the water. And, you know, we can offer some water to some thirsty people, and whether they take it or not, it's in the offering, isn't it? And it's in the love of just people being people and showing up with them. Well, I'm tempted now just to throw in, because you obviously scuppered the order of the question, tempted to just throw in just something about your experience at Viva last year. We're really thrilled that you've, and immediately I've said, yes, you'll come back and you'll speak on panels and in groups, which we're so appreciative of. So can I ask you just briefly why you said yes to come back?
You want me to go first again? It's not fair. Why did I say yes to come back? So it's a really good question, actually. And for me, it is it was something that I've had to go, really, should I do that? Because there's such a lot going on around it and everything else. And the reason why I committed again is because I loved the way the Viva was. It was like a playground. It was not a teaching place. Not we're the experts and you've come to learn from us. It was, we're all in there together. Yeah, we've seen some things, but we're tapping into what you've already seen as well. So let's play with that. And there was a real sense of that fun and community. And I wanted to support that, really. I wanted to come back and support that and make that happen more. And from a personal point of view, being in Spain in November is quite, is it November? Yes, that's right, it's November. That's quite fun to do that. And also because Viva attracts and is trying to attract new people and people who haven't heard about the principles before and people who think, well, what is it? And it's making it very simple, very straightforward, and pointing to what Jen just pointed to, which is it's already alive in all of us. We've already all had insights, no matter where we've been in our lives. We've already all experienced peace of mind, even if it's for 1 second. And Viva's very much about tapping back into that and saying, oh yeah, you got it too. We're calling it something, but that thing that's not important.
Oh, that's lovely, thank you. It's a little bit selfish of me, but we didn't, because you flew in and flew out because of your circumstances last year, we didn't get a testimonial, so nailed it. No, but I mean, thank you, because it's as formless as we could make it. And I think what you've said really kind of sums up what we hoped would be created. And trying to keep our hands off as well as create it is quite a challenge. Believe in, and the playground keeps coming up and up and up, because we know children go to the playground. They don't go to learn about playgrounds. They don't go to learn about climbing, but they climb and they learn. And it's just wrapped up in that lovely experience. Jenny.
It's very similar to Jacqueline, really. I love the fact that it felt informal, and it did feel like a gathering of friends and having a conversation. And I love the fact that we had the afternoon off, because so often I think if it's like beautiful weather outside and I'm sat in a conference learning something, I'll be like, I want to be outside. But it felt like you had the morning to kind of have some suggestions put out to you. Then you had the afternoon to go out and see how they sat with you. Because I very much feel like I am, even if I'm speaking at a conference, I'm a participant and I'm learning from whoever's speaking. So it felt nice to then have the afternoon off to just see, well, what's new for me? What have I seen here? And then to come back in the evening, again, it was quite informal, and it was to have different speakers. And it felt like the most inclusive conference I've ever attended, in that there was just such a variety of different speakers. Some people I'd never had the opportunity to listen to before. People who'd been around it from, 20, 30 years to then maybe a year, 2 years, but everyone having something just as valuable to say, and really seeing that this understanding is timeless and that there's insight built into all of us. So I loved how inclusive it was, how informal, and that there was just a lightness. Like even the way that yourself, Sheila, and Mark would kind of introduce things, or it was playful. It wasn't serious. It wasn't heavy. So it felt, I don't know, it felt like a social event rather than having you're at a conference. Because I think some people have this idea around events or conferences or courses as being serious. I think that kind of goes throughout the principal community, that often they're not that serious. But to have it as this huge event, and just have different speakers, that's what I really love the most.
Well, we're mixing it up this year. We've quite a few people coming back, and then we've got some new people, so it's going to be fresh from that point of view. But it's always fresh anyway, because we've been talking about that in this conversation.
And I didn't get to see the flamenco dancers because I went, so I'm hoping you have that again.
Well, we've got one or two ideas. I can't promise flamenco dancers, but I can promise you some kind of surprise.
Nice.
Sorry, Sheila. Thank you so much for giving me your time and for this conversation. It's been lovely, and I look forward to, hopefully seeing you before November, but certainly seeing you in November. I'll put up the details of the website, www.thevivaevent.com, and hope that you've had a lovely time listening. We welcome comments and feedback until the next time. So thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Sue.
Take care. Bye-bye.